Thousands of Iranians took to the streets of Tehran Friday, chanting "Death to Israel, death to America," following the murder Wednesday of one of Iran's top nuclear scientists. Ahmadi Roshan was killed by a magnetic bomb attached to his car, an attack very similar to 4 others in Tehran over the past 2 years, all aimed at stopping Iran from getting a nuclear weapon.
Iran feels penetrated by Mossad. Iran feels under a huge wave of leakage of information, and therefore is investing great effort, immense resources into the attempt to capture Mossad agents in Tehran.
The Iranians were quick to point the finger at the obvious suspects, Israel and the United States.
Although the international community is silent, they mostly support such crimes. The Iranian government should make the world understand the true motives and awaken the nations of the world about what it is about Iran that America and the enemies of Iran can't tolerate.
Israel's national intelligence agency, the Mossad, has long waged a secret war against its nation's enemies, going back to its ruthless pursuit of the perpetrators of the 1972 Munich Olympics massacre.
The latest word we get from the airport is that, quote, all hell is broken loose out there.
But all the hostages, all 9 hostages, are safe.
For most of the last 40 years, I have reported how Israel has used deadly force to prevent its enemies, including Syria and Iraq, from obtaining nuclear technology. Item, France, 1975. Hussein tours French nuclear facilities with then Prime Minister Jacques Chirac. France later sells 2 so-called research reactors to the butcher of Baghdad. The rest of the world stands silent. Israel, with ruthless efficiency, immediately begins fighting back. Item, Toulon, France, April 1979. The heart of one of the reactors is sabotaged in this warehouse by Israeli secret agents. Item, Paris, June 1980. This Egyptian physicist, hired to coordinate Iraq's nuclear effort, is found bludgeoned to death in this hotel. The Mossad is suspected. In 1981, Israel ended Saddam Hussein's pursuit of a nuclear weapon, destroying Iraq's reactor in a massive air raid. Just as Israel did in Syria a quarter of a century later, turning its secret reactor into so much dust in the desert. But Iran is a tougher nut to crack. And to do it, the secret war went high-tech in 2011, when the Stuxnet's computer virus was created to crash Iran's reactors.
It was very sneaky, very smart.
The virus made the Iranian centrifuges, designed to enrich uranium, spin so fast they self-destructed. And all the while, the computer program indicated to the Iranian technicians that everything was fine.
They are afraid to start operating again because they don't know who's infected and who's not.
Stung by secret economic sanctions, frustrated and frightened by its inability to stop the secret attacks, Iran now threatens to close the strategic Strait of Hormuz, a move some say would be an act of war.
We cannot tolerate Iran blocking the Straits of Hormuz. And that's a red line.
If Iran refuses to abandon its nuclear ambitions, isn't an attack by Israel inevitable?
Those efforts will not stop the Iranians from achieving the bomb. And at the end, a military attack will have to be taken. Israel will exert its legitimate right for self-defense.
Many Americans, including President Obama's former national security advisor, agree.
He who turns the other cheek gets hit with the other fist. I'm tired of turning the other cheek where Iran's concerned.
Up next, those 2 former secret operators, one American, the other Israeli. They tell us who they think is killing Iran's nuclear scientists. We'll be right back after this.
We have a nation which is intent on becoming nuclear. Iran has pursued their ambition without having crippling sanctions against them. The president was silent when over 1 million voices took to the streets in Iran.
This is an act of terrorism, and we should empathize with them. They are victims of terrorism, and we have condemned all terrorism. Obviously, the Iranian government wouldn't be killing their own scientists. So, yeah, we should have great empathy for them. And if we haven't done it, we should prove to them or give them all the reassurance that we have not done it. And to the answer to your questions, if we are doing it and participating, we ought to quit. That wouldn't make any sense. Participating in violent acts attacks, which would be equivalent to terrorism. At the same time, that's all we talk about is going around the world on a global war on terrorism, so there'd be no consistency there.
So who is killing Iran's nuclear scientists? Both Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Defense Secretary Leon Panetta emphatically deny that the U.S. is behind the attacks. And no matter how you spin it, that leaves Israel, Iran's mortal enemy, as the prime suspect. Rami Igrao retired from the Mossad, Israel's legendary secret service. Mike Baker, here in the studio with me, retired from our secret service, the CIA. Gentlemen, welcome. Mike, isn't it almost impossible that Israel is not involved?
Well, a lot of people looking at this would say, yeah, it's highly implausible that they have no connection to what's been taking place. Whether we're talking about this latest assassination attempt or the three previous over the course of, a couple of years, there is a covert operation underway. Again, to your point, that speaks towards Israel. Israel, at the same time, has indicated, we don't know who is involved in this. We don't discourage it, but we don't know who's involved. One point that I would like to make is that it is entirely possible that this sort of activity is taking place internally inside Iran.
You heard what Mike said there, Rami. I personally do not believe it's at least not entirely internal in Iran. And I also note for the record that Israel has been less than emphatic in its denials. They don't confirm or deny. I mean, they haven't come out and said, as Secretary of State Clinton and Defense Secretary Panetta did, absolutely not. So what say you? Is Israel involved, Rami?
It shows that the Secretary of State has much better public relations than the Israeli Secretary of State. And I would agree with that. But it's true that the whole of the Western world is happy to see somebody's trying to slow the Iranian nuclearization. We are all going to be in a worse state the day that Iran has a nuclear bomb. Anybody that understands anything about covert operations knows that doing an operation of the sort in Iran is highly impractical and very close to impossible. What is possible is that there are local dissidents, this kind or that kind, that are getting help from some Western country. And that could be the United States, it could be England, it could be Israel, it could be anybody in the West. But it is most probably people from the Gulf states who are most afraid of the nuclear bomb in the Iranian hands.
Israel has demonstrated a willingness and an ability to do things in a way that is covert. Doesn't this operation sing to you of Israel?
An operation of this sort demands at least 30 people in Tehran. And the risk taken by any country sending 30 people to Tehran to engage in an operation of this sort is not going to be taken by any politician in any Western world, and for sure not in Israel.
The resource required, everything from safe houses to cash to getting that motorcycle, getting appropriate paperwork, documentation, all that work that's involved in carrying out a covert op like this is incredibly difficult. That's why, from an operator's perspective, when you look at this and the previous ones that have taken place, your mind immediately goes to it's an internal operation to a very, very large degree. And in Iran, it is entirely plausible that it is being conducted through individuals there who are looking for regime change.
Having it on the ground needs so many people, and it is such a big risk that nobody, no politician in his right mind would take it. I, for certain, wouldn't even thought of bringing it in front of a politician and asking him to take this kind of risk. Imagine something that happens wrong. You have 30 Israelis in Iran sentenced to death. That's impossible. A situation like this does not happen. And taking the books aside, it is, in my mind, a local operation. I do think that it has been aided by the West, and I do think it's good for all of us.
Gentlemen, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. That's it for us. Until next time.